Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. We are here to discuss some news that came out yesterday that I saw a few places report on. And the reason why we haven't had too many news stories lately is because we're in that weird interperiod between, right before San Diego Comic-Con, which is going to be the big press event for the beginning of the summer. I guess it is the beginning of the summer if we go based on the calendar of when summer starts. The summer starts in late June, we just consider it June to August is summer, but really it's not the entire month of June. It's the end of June to the end of September is summer. But we're not here to talk about the semantics of the calendar. We're here to talk about the big story, which is that the Steam Deck, which is Valve's hardware they released, which is basically a handheld computer with a screen on it. It's kind of like a Nintendo Switch preloaded with Steam, and it's got Linux on it, and it's got you can play games on it. The highest end model, I know for certain, can handle playing like Elden Ring and other new AAA titles. I'm not sure about I'm not sure about the smaller models. I would assume probably the second highest model. I would assume all of them probably can play Elden Ring, because it doesn't make sense to me that they would release a console like this that couldn't play the most popular games, because the most popular games don't have that power, the requisite abilities. Either way, the question came about with the two higher end models that have solid state drives on them. One of them has a 256 gigabyte solid state drive. One of them has a 512 gig solid state drive. And one of the things that was noticed was a difference between the launch models of the Steam Deck and the current models that are going out of the Steam Deck, where the current models are slower. The solid state drive that they are using is cheaper, and alright, cheaper isn't the problem. The problem is that they're slower. And number one, the price and the specs are not reflective of the fact that they are using a cheaper solid state drive. Because, logistically you would think that if they used a cheaper one, that would bring the price down a little bit, because these things are expensive. But price has not changed. Whatever, businesses will do what businesses do, and if they want to make as much profit as possible, they'll keep the price the same and change out the internal components for cheaper ones, and we'll be none the wiser, and that's just how it works. The issue is the performance and the difference in performance, and especially considering where the switch happened. When did the change between the two happen? Now, the editions that went out early that had the better solid state drive that was faster came out and went out to early adopters and to reviewers, critics, industry insiders, people like that who are going to be of influence when it comes to buying a Steam Deck. So these people all got faster models of the Steam Deck than are going out currently. So let's say you were someone who was going to wait to buy a Steam Deck let's see what people think first, because this is an expensive piece of hardware, and I don't know if it's necessarily worth 100% to buy it. Let me see how it performs before I buy it. So by putting out these better models and then changing it to this worse model and then not telling anyone you're changing it to the worse model, it feels a little sketchy. I don't want to say fraudulent, but I'll say it's a little sketchy. It's not the best business practice if you're Valve. Because what happens is, here's the thing. If there is even one internal memo in Valve that says, we're going to do this for the first round, and then we'll swap it out in later rounds, that is grounds for probably a class action lawsuit from anyone who bought it in the second round. Because then you have, like, to prove activity in this way, I don't want to dance around it without saying it explicitly, just in case I don't want to open myself to any legal liability myself, but to prove that you have some kind of recompense for someone doing this to you, you need to prove it was intentional. And they did it with the intent to make money, and they did it with the intent to, with the intent to obfuscate the truth from the person who was buying said product. Without those two things, you're going to have a very hard time proving any culpability. So there's even one memo that says we're going to do this, and then we're going to change it, and then we're going to send out the cheaper ones after people have already seen how fast it is. That could be grounds. Because the thing is, it's not like it's some other marketing company or some other company that may not know the insides and outs of how the technology works. It's Valve. Valve is a tech company. That is their job. There is no ignorance there. It is their job to know what these things can do. So what we have is a situation that has arisen where I don't think that, maybe it's a cynic in me, but I don't think there's a world in which this happened on accident, considering that it is a physical difference in assembly between the A model and the B model. There's a physical difference in how it is connected. There's a physical difference in how the interface works. Everything is physically different about it, and done in a way on the inside without the customer designed to know. Like, I, as the buyer, shouldn't know that this change occurred. Unless I take apart the system. To be like, okay, so what can I change about this system if I were to want to upgrade it? Unless you are physically taking it apart, you wouldn't know that this happened. Unless you were like, wow, it seems a little slow. It seems marginally slower than it was on my other console. Or wow, when I saw the video online, it seemed faster. But maybe they're hoping people will chalk that up to deceptive video editing, which, while deceptive is allowed, but at the same time it feels like something that shouldn't be. Like, I see this a lot where it's like, I don't know if you've seen the DirecTV stream commercials where you can go seamlessly from HBO Max to DirecTV between the two of them. And they had it with Serena Williams and Wonder Woman, Serena Williams and The Matrix, and then it was like, most recently, it was Ghostbusters and, what was the other one? Ghostbusters and baseball. And I'm like, okay, but it never actually works that fast. Like, I can't flip between the two as if I'm changing channels. That's not how that works. Like to say that it does work that fast is incredibly deceptive. Because it's just not true. And if we look at it in that regard, and we look at, like, what this could be, it's definitely someone who is like, hey, mine is not working the same way this one in in the video is working. Let me take it apart and see what's different. And then they compared it to what was in the thing. Now, the real question I have is, prior to the story coming out yesterday from Kotaku, or I think AV Club also ran a story about it, but prior to these stories coming out, was the website that listed off what's inside the thing, because there has to be some kind of thing like this. These are the components that are in this, so be aware that these are the components that are in it. Like, if you buy a computer, and you go to Best Buy to buy a computer, or go on Best Buy's website, because it's, apparently I'm one of the people who likes to shop in person before I buy something. You go on Best Buy's website and you pick up You pick up a new laptop. It lists out all the components that are in it. Not all the components, it doesn't give you a list of all the smaller shit, but the specifications on the battery and the specifications on the on all of the important stuff is listed out neatly, so that way you can point to, okay, so these are the things that are in this, it's got an i9 processor, okay, it's got this graphics card, okay, it's got this sound card, okay, cool. But if did the Steam Deck have that? And if so, did the second page reflect that it's a different SSD? Because that alone could be grounds for, hey, you're giving me the wrong information intentionally. Especially considering the fact that it is such a different model of solid-state drive. It's not like it is a similar but works the same. It is an entirely different solid-state drive to put in that is slower because it has less connections, from what I read. Keeping in mind I don't own a Steam Deck because they're expensive. But it's a conundrum that is now out in the open, and the question of whether or not there's at minimum to the optic of sending out the first editions with the best hardware and then downgrading the hardware without telling anyone for later adopters is not a great optic. At least we can point to that and we can agree on that, where it's look, the people who are going to get the Steam Deck first are going to be reviewers, they're going to be people who are diehard Valve fans, they're going to be PC gaming fans, they're going to be, this, that, the other thing. If that's the case, and that is the, and if they know that, which, look, they're not stupid, they know that, and they're going to send out these people the best editions of the console with the best components and the best, the best performance, with the intention that these people will go out and talk about it and then tell everyone, alright, this is how cool this is, look at how fast it is, look at what we can do with it. I think it definitely does not look great for what their business practices were with that. It's definitely not a great look. That said, is it an issue of legal culpability? That's a different question. That's, that is an entirely different question that would require some semblance of, internal investigation, probably a lawsuit, plus, probably a lawsuit with a sizable discovery. But, we'll see what comes of this. It's a sticky situation, to say the least, where I don't think Valve necessarily was hoping people would find this out. But at the same time, even if it's not illegal, and it isn't an illegal thing, and we go with the most benign explanation, which is like, look, there are supply chain issues. To make sure that we can keep up with demand, we swapped out and went with this one instead of the other one, and the performance is marginally slower, but it's not slower enough to create a substantial difference. We didn't think anyone would notice. We weren't trying to be difficult or be annoying or or defraud anyone, but this is what we did to kind of alleviate that issue. I'm going to stuck by the train tracks now because there's a train coming in, so lucky me. But if that's the case, and again, that's a big if, moron. That's the thing about these train tracks over here. It's that every day that I get stuck by these train tracks, someone does something illegal at this light, but there is no red light camera. And you would think there would be, considering there are train tracks involved in safety, where people will blow the red light and just go straight. People will, when there's no train coming, they'll make illegal left turns. It's just obscene, the amount of people who will blow the red light just because it's an all-way stop and they don't want to wait for the train. So we'll wrap up there for today. I think we've covered enough ground on the latest Steam Deck controversy. I think that the solution that Valve should have to solve this problem in the most efficient way possible without being without being ridiculous. Just be like, look, supply chain issue. We want people to be able to get the console. We didn't think this was going to be an issue. We thought that it was a similar enough solid state drive with what's I'm looking for here? With performance that was comparable. We didn't know that it would be this big of a difference. That said, if you bought a Steam Deck now and want to mail yours back for free, you can mail it back, and we will give you a new one at no cost with the right component in it. I think that's the way to solve the problem. I think if they're not going to do that, that's not what they should be. That is the only way really to alleviate the issue. So we'll wrap up there for today, and if any other news comes out, we'll be back with that. So until then, have a great rest of your week.